If you remember my first reflection with you, I was quite nervous. I shared a story with you, and it's really kind of been the theme of just being a priest, and it's the theme of happiness and what brings us joy and what brings us happiness in life. And I shared with you, and it felt like I was telling you a joke, but it really did happen. I said I walked into a bar there and had my priestly clerics on, and I was there not to get a drink at that time, but rather to get some takeout food for myself and the pastor that I was with. And a woman at the bar was having a drink, and she looked over at me as I was waiting for the food. And she gave me kind of one of those stink eyes, the scour look, as she saw me waiting for my food. And she decided to launch a little grenade out, and she said, if you ask me, religion is just a bunch of rules. And I thought, well, it's really nice to meet you. How are you? What's going on inside there? You seem a bit unhappy. And I said, well, certainly we have rules. We have the commandments, and we have rules in our faith, in the Catholic faith, without question. We cannot deny that. But those rules are there for a reason. They are there to protect our relationship with God. And those rules are there to protect our relationship with each other. All relationships have rules around them to help foster relationships and protect them from falling apart and acts of selfishness. Ask any married couple, there's rules, right? You can't date somebody else. It's just you and me, right? You got to come home. I want you to say, love me. I want you to do things for me. There's certain rules that are there. Parents have rules. Children have rules. Life has rules to it. That's not a bad thing. And so I found out she had some issues, of course, with our faith, and we talked about them round and round in circles, and I started to get a little tired, and finally I just said to her, you don't mind me asking, are you happy in life? Are you happy? And she looked at me a little embarrassed, but she said, no, I'm not. And I said, well, isn't that something? Here I am, this young priest, and really quite handsome, if you ask me. And I'm in this religion full of rules, and I'm super happy. I've never been happier in my life. I really am. I'm very happy with the Lord and with serving God's people. Very happy. And here you are at the bar. You have no rules according to your sort of mentality. You can do whatever you want. And yet you're unhappy. That should not be according to your logic. And she said, well, that's just you. And I said, it isn't just me, though. This is that sense of happiness comes from following God and loving God, and a sense of the rules that are there. They bring us joy, actually. That a theme of happiness, we all want to be happy. Even before you say the word, it's the way we're put together. We want joy. Nobody can disagree with that. The question is, what brings happiness? What choices in life, what kind of life will actually bring fulfillment in the heart and happiness? There's a priest, he's a Jesuit. He's actually really quite a faithful Jesuit. His name is Father Robert Spitzer, and he's got to be quite well known in the United States of America. He's brilliant, unbelievable intellect God has given to this particular Jesuit. He's done some phenomenal work in the areas of science and just what do we know about the Big Bang and all this and stuff, and just how science and faith really are harmonious and they fit together like a hand and a glove. And he's also done some area in the work of happiness and what brings human beings happiness. And through his conversations and his much research in the literature and the tradition and the history of the human race, he's come to the conclusion that there are actually 4 levels of happiness that we as human beings have in life. And you think of a house, different floors in the house. The first level is the lowest level of happiness. It's not immoral, it's just fine. It's an immediate happiness to live on this level, but it's very short term as well. He calls this the bodily desire or pleasure, a life of pleasure and satisfying our bodily desires. He says, if you have a good bowl of linguine or a great lasagna, or you drink a fine wine, or you have a great beer, or you have, like me, when you speak to me, ice cream or chocolate or cookies, these bodily desires, these things bring a certain level of joy and happiness, and they are not immoral at all. God has given us the goods of life to enjoy them. If you've ever had a great conversation and a fantastic meal, you know exactly what I'm talking about. There's a sense of enjoyment that's there from a great meal. We also know that on this level, if you live only on this level, moving from pleasure to pleasure to pleasure, with your heart thinking, well, maybe this will bring me a little bit more happiness, you will never really be fulfilled. In fact, if you do not receive these things in moderation, temperance, one of the cardinal virtues, happiness will elude you, and you become less and less happy. And so there's a sense of moderation or temperance in the way we use the world's goods. Hence, the church has given us the beautiful season of Lent, which it helps us to purify these desires so they don't dominate us and enslave us. Think of like a prey that's caught in a web. As the spider comes near it, it's caught. You can become caught by your passions or your desires if you do not moderate them and live in temperance. Ask anybody who's in addiction, whether it's to alcohol, drugs, or anything else. They will tell you, this thing has a hold on me, and it's stealing my happiness, and it's compromising my freedom to truly be who I'm created to be. Level 1 is all about pleasure and bodily desire, and unfortunately there are some people who live only on this level, and deep down inside there's a hole in their heart because they're aching for more. Level 2. Level 2 is what I just call the resume level. These are your personal achievements in life, the things you've achieved. For those of you that are in sports, a game well played, a job well done, a project completed, a good day's work, the process of raising a family, building a project or something, an organization. Whatever it is, whatever gifts God's given to you, these things will you personally achieve and do well in life. These things provide you with a self-esteem. They give you confidence in life and a certain level of happiness and credibility with others as well. And there are a good number of people in our society that live only on this level. If I continue to achieve and do more, then maybe I'll be a little more happy. I remember reading a little article about Tom Brady. And the guy's won all these Super Bowls, and he was so honest at one point. He said, after I won the Super Bowl, this great achievement, I was happy, so happy, for a couple of days. And then I said to myself, what's next? In other words, he's admitting there's a certain level of happiness that's there from this achievement, a great achievement in sports, the Super Bowl. But he also realizes when he's honest with himself, it's not enough. I want more. There's still something in my heart, a hole that's there. I hunger for more. So that level of 2 is that personal achievement. And if you don't move past this can actually become quite destructive as you become enslaved to your own ego and enslaved to the opinions of others and what they think of you. I want more and more honor and more power through achievement. And many people have gone down the drain, so to speak, by only living on this level, the for me and achievement level. Achievements are good. Again, they give you confidence, self-esteem, and credibility. They are good, but you cannot stay on this level. Level 3 is beautiful because what it does is it moves your attention away from self, and then you begin to move your attention outside of yourself toward others. It's an outward vision. And this is the level called contribution to others. It's the doing for others, being with others. People who live on level 3 say, what can I do to make the lives of those around me better? And they're always looking for ways and opportunities of service, of improving the lives around the people they love and their families. These are the people at the parish going, what can I do to help the parish? What can I do at school for my classmates? They look at work and they say, I want to make this place better. What can I do to make this place better? This place isn't about me and my own sort of just income. I want to make this a better organization for the sake of the employees, for the sake of parishioners. And then, the famous line by Kennedy, not asking what your country can do for you, but what you can do for the country. What can I do to make the United States of America a better place as a citizen? Level 3 brings a deeper sense of happiness, a deeper sense of fulfillment and well-being, and it stretches the time period of your happiness as well. People who live on level 3 are far more fulfilled than people who live on level 1 and level 2. But even that, on a secular level, is not enough. This is because our hearts are made not for this world, but they're made for God. And that brings us to the final level of level 4. And level 4 is the ultimate and highest level of happiness that a human being can experience. It's when the human being possesses with his or her heart truth, goodness, love, beauty, and actually being itself, the very existence. And we have a name for that: God. God is the fullness of truth, goodness, He is the embodiment of love, and He is the very face of beauty. And our hearts are only at home when we possess them, when we have them and they surge through us. In other words, you will only be happy when you possess goodness, love, beauty, communion, being itself, and truth in their infinite form, their perfect form, and that is God. The saints are literally the happiest people who have ever lived on the face of the earth. Even though they have struggles and sufferings and challenges, deep inside them is this embodiment of goodness and love we call God that lives in them. And they are so unbelievably happy at the core of their being. A rich life of prayer. A person who says that everything I do for Jesus Christ, who is at the center of my life. My life is not about me, but rather about Christ and serving Him and building His kingdom and drawing the church together and building up His body, the church. This is a person who will receive and embody and be fulfilled in life. And rules of the commandments for this person are enjoyment and delight, because they say, this keeps me on track, and these are the path to happiness. And I love God's commandments because they're good and they keep me close to God. I think, with our culture that seems to become more divisive and acrimonious and passions are running wild, and many times people will not listen to moral arguments anymore. They just shut down and they say, well, that's just you impressing yourself upon me. I think one of the last tools that we have in our belt to evangelize is to do so through happiness. And ask people, what brings you happiness? Is your life working for you? Are you truly happy? What brings you joy? In closing, I'll give you an example of this. I had a gentleman come in. He's reaching 90 years old, madder than a hornet over certain things in the church, communion, politicians. You just name the moral issue, it's all there. And I, explained everything very gently, very softly to him, why we believe what we believe. I realized I wasn't getting very far. And finally, I just said to him, if you don't mind me asking, you've had a good long life, you've had a long life. What are the 3 or 4 things that you're most proud of in your life? What brings you joy and happiness as you look upon your life? I was amazed because his face immediately changed. He became open. And he's like, wow, the priest really cares about me. I do. And he began to share about his life in a very personal way. And I began to gently just say, look, at the end of the day, all these moral issues, they're all meant for our happiness and our good, and that you might become fully alive in life. So to work through the heart, through happiness and what the desire of the heart, and then we can bring in the moral issues as this mean to happiness. In conclusion, level 1, life of pleasure, good food and choice wines, certain level of happiness, pretty short term though. Level 2, those personal achievements in life, a job well done, a game well played, building an organization, building a project, a little bit deeper happiness. Level 3, my contribution to others, giving your time, sharing the talents God's given to you, caring about others, good friendships, a little deeper happiness. And finally, level 4, the ultimate level of happiness, where Christ is at the center, a love for the Blessed Mother and the communion of saints and building up Christ's kingdom and doing everything for him. That's the ultimate happiness. Think about your own life, on what level you live on, and move up to that next level, and your happiness will increase.